All right, and we're back for another episode coming in. I'm just going rogue on these ones, folks. There's no more episode numbers, no more structure. I'm just having a guest, whoever the hell I want. And with that being said, my best friend again, Goosey. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me back.
It's all right. I'm glad that you're back with a thing to promote that we're gonna get into later on.
Yes,
But
back with a purpose.
right. So, but what's going on? How's life been for you?
Life is good. It's busy. But I don't like when people say busy when I ask them how their life's going. So it's been busy in that it's been full. My days are full, but I'm not complaining about any of it. It's all full with basically things I want to do. So
That's great because I know last time when you were on, we were talking about how you were working for that gym app. Well, I mean, you were doing the personal training thing, and then the app coincided with the training.
Yep.
So I know that there was that you were doing, and then you still got your freelance photography going
Yep.
on, which is
Doing that.
awesome. So I mean, like, yeah, you're just a man of many hats. I
yeah,
will say.
yeah.
Plus, you're still
Yeah.
doing plus grad school, right? That's also doing.
Grad
Very
school
well.
is in full swing. Yeah, so that's fun.
I forget. Did we talk about the whole thing how we met in college that's blossomed into this friendship? Did we discuss that on air?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Well, fuck it. We'll just say it again. So
I feel like no, we did. Didn't it turn to the clip?
oh yeah, it was that whole thing where that's how we met. But I don't know about the actual.
No, with the Jack Daniels, I'm pretty sure that's in the last episode. Like
I'm pretty sure you were just talking about how you transferred in. You met me, and I knew everybody to do. But we didn't talk about the flask. That was not part of the clip.
That's true. All right, yeah, you can go ahead. You can. I thought we talked about this, but if you want to give the quick summary,
Okay, so anyways, we had two classes back to back in the same room in the same building. It was history and then public health. Just right. And so I was, not the best of health conscious person back in my college days. I was young and invincible, I thought. So I was going out for a smoke break in between the classes, and Goose had my class, he was in the class, and I was like, "Hey buddy, like can you just watch my shit on I'm gonna go over there." You're like, yeah, sure, no problem. So all right, cool, because I traveled light. I was wearing a suit. I didn't give a shit about no book bags. I had like an iPad and like a notebook to my name when I was going. That's how I did college, folks, really unprofessionally. But yeah, it was that. And so I would go out, have a cigarette, come back up, and then I would take my flask out and I would say, "Hey man, like thanks for watching my shit. Do you want to take a swig?" And of course, Goose being the real person that's has never encountered an Asian man in a suit in a fucking 9 o'clock class offering him whiskey. You're like, yeah, sure, buddy. That's totally a thing that's happening right now. Yeah, no, I'll pass. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. So then time keeps going by. About I think like we do it for like a couple weeks,
yeah, it's a couple weeks.
and then eventually you're like, all right, fine, like whatever, fine, I'll take a swig, and then I pass you the flask, and you sniff it. You're like, what the fuck? You're like, that's whiskey. You're like, I don't lie, bitch.
Yeah, I thought this was just some weird dude drinking like Kool-Aid out of a flask or something in the morning class. I was like, oh no, this man is drinking whiskey out of a flask at 9 o'clock in the morning in public health class.
Yeah, that was me, baby. That was those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. No wonder why my body's the way that it is now. Well, yeah, no, that was. Oh man, that felt like so long ago. But I mean, kind of now. I would say
Yeah.
it is even
Almost 10 years ago.
Jesus Christ, man. This is time is a cruel mistress. It comes for us all. That's for sure.
I'm sorry. I wish you could see the look on my face right now. So we just moved into a new apartment and we've been like kind of, putting things together, decorating, whatever. We moved in about a month ago and everything's pretty much put together. But every once in a while, let's put this here. My wife, my lovely wife,
Your lovely wife, who also is Asian.
she is half Asian, half Malaysian.
I was
She
like,
put
man,
up-
you miss me that much? Goddamn.
She put up. I just noticed this. There's a sign now on my cupboards that says, "Our hearts will always be at home in Scranton, Pennsylvania." Hey, and
Bitch, I am from Scranton. Okay.
guess whose heart is not in Scranton, Pennsylvania?
Well, it's her heart. Well,
Her heart.
I guess.
Is in Scranton, and I have a sign in my house now that says, "Okay, you know what?
I think it
We're
must.
going off. We're going off brand here for this podcast, and I apologize. We're just going to rant about things in my apartment, but
I don't know. We don't give a
we
shit.
need a giant Pizza New Haven sign to go up for that or something.
Sign wars. I feel like that's the only
Sound
thing
logical.
now in married life. You got to do like, okay, she put in something. Let me find something equally as fucking. Because this was not. She did not consult you about putting this thing. It was just one of those things. Like, oh, putting it up. So now you're like, okay, well,
No, as a married man, you don't get consulted about decorations. They just kind of appear.
yep. So there you go. But now you got to strike back with something else. You got to. I think. So what do you think? If you want to do a New Haven pizza thing, because I'll start looking up shit right now. See like, what we can.
Delaney used to sell those things, but let's keep this podcast on track about what we were supposed to talk about, or with the stuff we're talking about.
That's all right.
This is not a Goose's apartment decor podcast. That'll be on next week.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that'll once we get the whole thing fleshed out, we'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll get a whole segment going for it. Let's see. So let's go with our first roll then, since we want to move this along. I know you got somewhere to be, so this might be a shorter episode than y'all expect, but y'all are getting 3 episodes this week, so suck it.
Oh, nice. That's fine. No, I'm good. I'm good on time.
Okay. We got 15. All right. 15 is if you had to name a chapter in your life right now, what would it be called?
Ooh. So like the current chapter that's happening, it'd be called "Where the Hell Did This Sign Come From?"
There it is. It can have so many meanings, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah. The chapter for the past 60 seconds. Ooh, that's a good one. It would have to be something like something that has to do with my days are really full. Because that's been like a common theme in my life lately. It's like I'm just having one of those things where for the past like month, it's like I leave the house at 5:30 in the morning and I get back at 10:30 at night. And so it's got to be like, yeah, I don't know, something full something. It'd probably be a pun because I'd have to make it has to be funny.
or punny. It had to be for let's see. But dude, remember when we were doing Gerber's class and it was our autobiographies?
Yeah.
So like I had a lot of chapter names for that, but it was I'm going back to it wasn't anything in the now. It was all like shit that because I can think of shit for the past, but like going through shit right now, like, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. So you'd want to make it short, sweet, to the point, punny. Let's see.
I don't know. Mine would just be something like, I don't know, days full of shit I want to do. I don't know. That's kind of just like like I signed up for these full days. That wouldn't be a good chapter name, but something.
I signed up for this. Like that'd be a good one.
Yeah, but that also makes it sound like I'm doing something I don't want to do. Like everything I'm doing right now, I want to do. So
well, I mean, like it would be. It's something that's intriguing because you could because you want to read the chapter. It's not gonna. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I signed up for this. Is also something that people in the military say a lot when you're there and you're doing something you don't want to do and it just everything fucking sucks. People would just be like, "Hey, you signed up for this." So that's why I don't want to name it that because that brings back.
That is fair. That is very fair. You don't want to have don't want to bring in the PTSD that way. Let's see. I think
yours is
what?
Go ahead.
Let's see. I think for me right now, I think balancing act would be.
Yeah.
Mine. Balancing act. I got a lot of. It's not that I have a lot of hats. It's just that doing the whole work thing, trying to get this podcast going up better, trying to take care of Mabel, trying to take care of myself, trying to take care of I got a lot of plates to just something involved like balancing a lot of plates or plate juggling, something along the lines of I got a lot of shit going on.
You are also at a like I think you're at like a crossroads in your life.
Oh yeah, episode 5, Band of Brothers Crossroads. Boom! I'll just steal from that again.
You should do the title of this episode should be Gamers vs. System Podcast Episode 11, Episode 5, Band of Brothers Crossroads. What's going on?
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that are. I mean, I'm at that point, man, and I feel like I've been at this situation before, but I've always taken the safe.
Yeah.
Let me just go do the job thing. Let me just go make sure I have the thing. But it's like, man, like sometimes I think I'm ready for that danger of the unknown. So I'm up for it. I'm up for this crossroads. Yeah. So without any further ado, then I guess we'll start talking about our game.
Oh,
Do you
cool.
want to? Yeah. Do you want to start off with yours, buddy?
Yeah, we're doing that one game. Is that this time for the segment?
Yeah. Or I mean, like it doesn't. Well, since we're doing multiple episodes of that one game, it could be just the game. I guess you know. What I mean, it doesn't have to be
Just
that
a
one
game.
anymore.
Oh, okay. We're done with that now. That's first 10 episodes only.
Well, no, I meant like because that would just mean like you only had one game to talk about, but I mean you're
I
come on
gotcha.
here multiple times, so you know.
Yeah. I was throwing a couple around in my head because I figured this was coming. I'm gonna go with modern. No, I'm not gonna go with modern. I'm changing my mind. I'm going with Assassin's Creed 3, which is somewhat modern, but it's not as modern as I was playing.
Oh, Assassin's Creed 3. Oh,
Assassin's
shit.
Creed 3 may have been the most pleasurable experience I've ever had while playing a video game. It was just so good. I was such like that's like when I was like whole hog into the Assassin's Creed series too. Like there was very few game series that I have been.
That's one that you played, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was playing. Yeah, I was still playing at this point.
Nice.
And I loved it. Obviously, you knew I was American history nerd, and they did that game right. As far as all the historical context and historical figures and all of that, and it's that combined with just the gameplay, I think for Assassin's Creed was at its peak around then. In my opinion, and based on the things I like, other people might have different opinions, but that was like my peak Assassin's Creed gameplay type. There wasn't anything I didn't like about that. And I remember it was the first one where like, a lot of the game took place in the woods, and everybody's like, well, Assassin's Creed, you're climbing all over buildings in the cities. Like, how are you going to do these woods? And how they just did it with like the trees like leaning down. This is actually funny. Kelly and I were on a hike a couple weeks ago, and there was like just a tree leaning on another tree. And I was like, hold on. I got to.
Dear, just don't judge me. And you just got to like run up the tree real quick.
Oh, yeah. Just like Connor crouching down.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think that was the first Assassin's Creed game that I actually like 100% synchronized. Tried to do.
Nice. Yeah.
Because, like you said, like it was American history. I had that fucking Mel Gibson Patriot boner whenever I'd be going through mauling redcoats in formation. Like it was definitely one of the better. Like you said, it was peak. Like combat was, I think, its most streamlined in terms of like and then they killed it after Black Flag. Because Black Flag had like very similar. I mean,
yes.
They also say that 3 was like a bridge game because they were trying to work stuff out for Black Flag with the ship combat. Because remember how you had that?
Yes,
the ship segment.
The 3, and I am, I think, of the rare opinion that I preferred the type and amount of ship combat in 3 than I did in Black Flag. Now, with that being said, obviously you play Black Flag to do ship combat stuff. Like I understand that. It was like I enjoyed the ship combat system and I enjoyed that aspect of the game, but I didn't enjoy it enough to like make a whole game of it personally.
Right. I mean it was, but there's the thing. It's like it was a good enough treat for the people who want to play it, like that sort of thing. But then if you really want to go full hog into it, you had 4. You had the ability. Plus they came out with like Rogue for the previous gen at that same time for 4, right? If I'm not mistaken, and then. But that you were able to just explore the waters and do all like the free roamy type shit that they got to give you to that. So I mean, like, yeah, it is, it was story based ship combat, perfect for 3. And then for when it comes to like just you going out there just exploring the hell out of all the shit and making it kind of mandatory for some things, like that's definitely 4. But that, like I said, that was the game that you played. You picked up. I'm playing this pirate game. What am I gonna do? Ship shit. You know what I mean? So
right. I think that to me was like it was too much for me, Black Flag, too much ship combat, but I liked the amount that was in 3. But again, that's just if you're somebody who likes the ship combat, then yeah, obviously Black Flag's your game. Yeah. And Black Flag was cool, and so was Rogue. And,
I never played Rogue.
I never played it either. I get them confused in my head because I definitely watched a walkthrough. I think I played Black Flag and then watched a walkthrough of Rogue, and I definitely like in my head just cannot differentiate them. But
did you play the DLC for 3? I never got around to it because
what was that? I don't remember.
That was the one that they had like George Washington as like the tyranny of George Washington or something like that. They had, like,
yeah. It was a little weird, but it was cool.
Okay, like alternate history type shit. I think I always like those.
Yeah, they had like the guys in like the knight armor. Yeah, I remember that. It was very weird, but I was just like, it was cool. I liked the gameplay in that game, so I was just like, all right, I can do this.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was the first one after the Ezio trilogy that they did.
Yes, that was big. That was like, okay, we started with Altair. We went to Ezio for 3 games, and it's like, now what?
I didn't even play Revelations. Like that was just I was just Ezio'd out at that point. Like I don't get me wrong, Ezio was great. He was my boy. But like I played one, I played two, or I played two, and then I played Brotherhood, and I was like, okay, I feel like that's a good. I don't need enough. Like that's good right there. And then they were like, old man Ezio going to all 3 years. And I was just like, all right, I think I'll skip that one.
Yeah,
And I missed out on a whole thing of what happened in the real. But I didn't give a shit about the real world anyways. Like that whole Templar plot where you gotta run around and gotta find the out. Like they overcomplicated the hell out of it with the.
see, that was why I played Assassin's Creed.
Oh, you like that part?
Oh, I was an out of Animus guy. I was anytime you let me hop out of that Animus and beat Desmond Miles, I would do when they spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1. It's an old game. When they killed Desmond, I was so mad.
You were distraught.
Let me tell you, that was when Assassin's Creed started going downhill for me. And I don't
not the 3, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 3. Yeah, because I'm like, oh, this storyline is what I care about. And then they're just like, oh, we're gonna kill. And then it's like they randomly like bring aspects of it back in the next couple whatever. I still think they did an okay job.
And then 4, you were a first-person view walking around some fucking office.
Yeah, you were at the. I think you were an Abstergo employee or something, right?
Yeah, you were like where Abstergo was doing like video game research R&D and shit. So they were like,
yeah.
It
was weird. I was like, okay, whatever, but I just like, that whole Desmond storyline I loved, and they're just like, okay, and like I loved when they made him like you get possessed and then you kill, I think her name was Rachel or something, and then it's like, okay, cool, I love all this, and it's like it was like press X or something like that to kill Rachel. And like the game wouldn't progress until you pressed X.
Yeah, they totally ripped off a Metal Gear moment, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly.
Because I didn't know what to do. That screen sat there, and I was like, "I'm not," because I don't even think it even told me to press anything. I think it was kind of like you had to like move forward,
You're right,
or something to that extent. So like the screen was, I was like, "Did the game freeze?" I was like, "What the fuck's going on with this?" Like,
yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's definitely. I love the Assassin's Creed series, even up to the modern days. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like Odyssey and.
I remember we split on Unity because I definitely did not like Unity, but you loved the story.
I split with the majority of the population on Unity. I thought Unity was great. I think it got a bad rap coming out the gate because it came out all buggy, which understandable. That people would not like it because of that, but I thought Unity was Unity had been my favorite game since like 3. Like Syndicate was good, it was okay, Rogue was okay, Black Flag was okay. I thought Unity, I was like, okay, we're back, and then turned out we were not back because then they went over.
Because I even remember you were saying that you had like a story, like that he was like Arno was like based off of not your specific story, but like you kind of like wrote a short story that was kind of about like a character like Arno.
I did, yeah. That like
I remember that shit. See, Goose, I remember that conversation.
That's funny because I haven't even thought about that for a while yet. But like I was like, I don't know, I just had some creative writing projects as a youth, and that I would just keep saved in my computer somewhere. And yeah, I had like a story about basically like an assassin in the French Revolution, and it wasn't like Assassin's Creed style, but I was just like, oh, this is like similar. Maybe that definitely gave me a bias, but. I just liked it because it just seemed like we were like back to kind of the roots of what Assassin's Creed was. But then, then when here's the thing: with the later games with Odyssey and what was the other one that wasn't Odyssey? Not the Viking one.
Origins
and Odyssey.
Yeah, the whole next gen trilogy.
I think I was so upset with those because I'm like, well, here we go. We're gonna play some ancient Egypt, some ancient Greece. This is gonna be cool, and I don't care if a game or a movie or something like that isn't. I'm like, oh, if they're going to go to Egypt, I think it's going to be like this, and then it turns out it's not like that, but it's still okay. But if it turns out to be like that, and then it's just not okay, I'm just like, you're just changing so much, and change. You need change. Like you can't just keep creating the same game over and over. People are going to get bored. Totally understand. But like. I don't even hate like the idea of the open world Assassin's Creed games, even though I kind of like the linearity. I don't know. There's a word there somewhere.
It was the fact that it was like half on rails, half not. You know.
Yeah, the fact that like the order in which you did things mattered, but also kind of it didn't make sense, and then you could choose to do X and Y, like, and then I'm just like, and like then it's like you kind of sort of customize your character. I'm like, I just prefer to just play a character because that's kind of in my brain. It's like, I don't know, if I'm reading a book, like the author's not like, oh hey, you design the main character. No, the author's like, this is the main character. This is like and that's kind of why I think I liked Assassin's Creed games, because it was just always very like, there was like a novel aspect to it. Not novel as in new, like an actual like novel as in like it played like a novel reads.
Right, yeah. Here's your character. Here's what you're going through. This is the thing, and scene. You know, so,
yeah, exactly.
I really do think though, Goosey, like it's just, and said he could. You know, we'll talk about this as another point. Hopefully, he'll be able to hop in for one of these. But I just feel, because this is me going off of my experience with the industry and just seeing how the trends happen to hit, where they just, you can even tell, like in a lot of news articles that came out during the time those games were released too. It was like, we're moving away from the story mode. We're trying to do things more like,
Yes.
So I feel like a lot of it got damaged with that too. Plus Ubisoft was doing the thing where they were cranking out game after game after game after game.
Yeah.
Like yearly. And that was another thing that probably drained them of like the actual time to base a really good story. Because the thing that drove me away from Unity was the tired story plots of like, okay, here's our, and just I didn't think the writing was that good either for it, and I was kind of just like, oh, okay, like I could go, oh, this is the bad guy. Oh, they did have a good swap where like you meet your mentor in prison, and then he becomes like the bad guy later on in the story, blah blah blah. But just that whole will they won't they love story that you had to go through and all this shit, I was kind of just like, oh, this is tired. I was like, I've been there, done that with.
That's fair. Yes.
So. I mean, but that's me. I can't be happy for anything. So I fucking ruin a lot of shit. But I mean, I think we'll talk. That's what I found out. I'm going to talk about that in my story. But But I get you. I loved 3. I got to do that whole thing. I feel like that was a good. I would say, because like I said, Black Flag for me was the pinnacle of it, because I loved pirates and I love again, and I did love Assassin's Creed. So I think that was for me where it ended. That line, but 3 was definitely another phenomenal game, and I wish they probably do have some sort of like play 3 on the next gen console or this gen's console, so I'll get a look into that later on. But any other anything else for that, because then I'll start getting into my.
No, I think we spent enough time on my game. I just Assassin's Creed 3, that'll be my my game of the week or whatever it's called. That one game. So what do you got?
I figured we would talk about a game. Yeah, my game is going to be something that. Oh, sorry, I keep cutting.
That's okay. Before you say your game, is your game going to be something? Now, me coming from the not big gamer world, is it going to be something I know?
Oh yeah, this is going to be something that you know.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm talking about door kickers, bro.
Sorry.
I'm going to talk about door kickers.
That's hilarious. When I said I wanted to talk about a modern game, that was the game that I was going to talk about. That's so funny. I changed that last second. Like I changed that. I had fully intended on talking about door kickers.
See, folks, that's how you could tell we are definitely married without being married.
I should have written this down or something like that. That's so funny. That's so funny. I was literally about to say Door Kickers 2, Task Force North.
Oh shit! Yeah, no, that's the game that we played together, and it was my first in a long time playing a PC game, because I played PC games, just the Flash games, all that shit growing up. But this was my first okay, I'm gonna play a game on the PC, and you made me make a whole Steam account and all that shit like that, and I went and I got it, and for a game that was not what I'm used to playing, I'm used to the more and I'll it's a little. I might bring up another game in this whole segment, but I don't fucking care because it's my podcast, so fuck it. And but just the games I'm used to playing, I did a little bit of Call of Duty, I did my Battlefields, I did all that shit, but this was a completely no, we're playing tactical, bitch. I did Rainbow Six and all that jazz, hide out the corners, all that shit, but this one this was really tactical, and I was not.
Next level with that stuff.
Yeah, and I was not prepped for that type of world where it's oh no, you're dead. You're fucking dead. You dumbass. You didn't check that corner. Because the way that they do it so well, where they hide your if it's not in your character's FOV, your field of view, then they're not there on the map. So you're like you
Right.
really gotta like if you're checking, you gotta check there, and you gotta check you really gotta pie. You gotta do all that shit that they do teach you those nice tactical fundamentals in a game, which I feel like I brought it because we could talk about it more too. Because from your perspective, if going through the real life training in that sort of sense, like I know you weren't actually like going through kicking down shit and raiding any buildings, but you of course did the training part. So
I did a lot of training, which means almost next to nothing. I'm not sitting, again, I want to put this disclaimer out there like I did last podcast. I'm not sitting there saying that I was sitting there kicking down doors of friends that did that. And I was fortunate enough to be able to train with them, and then with people who have done that for a long time, and a lot of situations where it's not training, it's the real deal.
The closest we got to doing that, was when we cleared our house, and like when we were just just for shits and giggles. But I mean, but when you were doing the actual, like, okay, like I'm going in, I got my rifle, I got the kit, I'm actually doing the thing. Like it's a whole different thing of just playing it to actually doing the dry run of it. Like it's completely different.
So maybe to give the people, if they haven't heard of it, because it's not the most popular game in the world, but Door Kickers 2 Task Force North. Door Kickers 1 was like a phone game. I think it was on PC as well. But Door Kickers 2 Task Force North is a PC game, and basically it's more or less, they've updated it a lot, and actually I've actually really liked a lot of the updates, but I've liked them in theory. I haven't played it in a couple months, but Door Kickers 2 Task Force North is it's a CQB simulator. It's close quarters battle simulator, and basically you are controlling with one of the main faction in there is you have a team of Rangers that you're controlling, and you're going in, and there's different types of missions, but it's very based in real world tactics are rewarded. I think that's a fair way to say it. Oh, sorry, my phone or my email just came through. I forgot to close that.
Oh, it's all good. My thing made a couple noises, so don't worry about it.
Okay, so we anyway, we had where was that? Oh yeah. So it's a CQB simulator, essentially. And why I like it is that, I think there's a lot of skills that I think the average person should have, especially if you're somebody who, it's not starting a political debate here, but if you're somebody who likes to carry a weapon around, and you want to know how to effectively use that weapon to do something like clear your house, if you think there might be a danger or threat within your own home or some, any type of situation. And if you talk to anybody who knows anything about CQB, it's that if you're doing CQB, you've probably done 1,000 things wrong up till that point, or shit's just gone bad. Like there's fighting inside of a house, from based on what everybody tells me, just kind of sucks. And even in like little paintball training, you get shot a lot. But anyway, it's a good, but there is, there's an art and a skill to it, and there's guys that are really, really good at it, have done it for a really long time. And everybody I've showed the game to is like, oh wow, this is actually like, it's not absolutely not a replacement for training, but it's a good way to develop maybe just like an understanding of the skill set required to start, being effective in that type of situation. I think it's a good starting point for people who want to know and want to build that skill set, but they don't really know. Maybe they don't know where to start. Maybe they don't, whatever. You and I can hop on and play that game. And the reason I had you on there is because I was like, okay, I'm going to show you, because we're not physically in person together, I'm going to show you some basic stuff through this game as a vehicle. And then what I love is there are, guys who play it on like YouTube and stuff that actually know what they're talking about. I brought them up.
Can we shout out your boy on YouTube? That video you sent me that you were like, hey, if your podcast viewers like it, I'll link that video in with the description of this podcast.
Oh yeah. I don't know that guy, but I'm a fan of his channel.
Right, gotcha.
This channel is called Controlled Pairs. He's actually the reason I ever heard about this game. Without going too far into, I don't know the guy, but he has some, let's just say his background checks out. We've ran in similar circles, so his background checks out. He's a legit dude, and he plays a lot of tactical games, and does a lot of, like, I guess you call it like milsim. But he uses Door Kickers 2 specifically as a sort of a vehicle for introducing CQB concepts to people and just general, doctrine. And he does a fucking fantastic job. He plays other games too. But what I sent you? The video I sent you was
it was like 5 things that modern tactical games get wrong or something like that.
Yes.
I think
and he does that. I'd highly recommend checking it out. Like, again, I don't know this guy. I've never talked to him. But for all accounts, I'm a fan of his channel. I'm a fan of what he does. He's very knowledgeable. He's not a bullshitter. He's not he's not one of those guys he's also not one of those guys that like flashes his military service around and says, you should listen to me because I was in the military. Like, no, he goes over doctrine. He understands the doctrine very well. He knows it very well. Like, he'll quote doctrine and I'll look it up and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it says. He
someone who really loved his job.
yeah. I'm sure, he's very, very legitimate individual. So, and it's pretty cool that a guy like him is doing that and kind of bringing.
He brought his 2 loves and passions together: gaming and military background. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think he just does a fantastic job of it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are doing that type of thing. That just because you were in the military doesn't mean you know about that stuff. And he is somebody who does know about that stuff, but he doesn't there's. Unfortunately, let's just be real. There are people in the military that use their military service to sell a product, and I don't get that vibe from him at all. I think he's a very legitimate source, and I'm not going to sit here just promoting his channel all podcast, but I would definitely recommend checking out Control Pairs. That's where I heard of this game.
But the one thing that you got, you're right. This is not a substitute for any sort of training or anything like that, but at least for basic fundamentals and mindset and just like awareness, like I feel like it does help out a lot because, like I said, playing other games, and the only game that I could kind of like throw into this thing is like I recently like earlier this year. Yeah, Jesus Christ, it's almost the end of the year. So like at the beginning of the year, I started playing Insurgency Sandstorm on PS4. So that was another game where it was. It's just every time if you fuck up, you're dead. Boom, one shot, you're down. Like, that game, you fucked up. You shouldn't have did that. Like, it's gotta have flash hiders on your guns or suppressors because if you're sniping across the map, they're gonna tell for the fucking muzzle. Like, it's just it added in some things that you would never think about just by playing games the way that we've been playing them, or at least not the way I've been playing them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then like I said, the whole thing with the field of view and all, especially for the CQB shit. Like it definitely was an eye opener into, like you said, you probably could practice it 1,000 times and you're doing it 1,000 mistakes. You know what I mean? Like unless you're actually doing it. But at least I feel like for the Door Kicker experience, when I was playing with you, like you're able to walk me through it in a way that if I was playing it by myself and I stumbled across, I wouldn't have gotten as much out of it as when you were talking me through it. So
right, yeah, and that's. Yeah, and that's the thing is that exactly as somebody who if you own firearms and you intend on using them in a worst case scenario and you're not actively training with them, then you're the problem. I'll just say it plainly, and so you're creating a potentially dangerous situation. So while again this video game is not a replacement for training, it's not a replacement for talking to actual human beings who understand and have done this. And are qualified instructors of this, it is a good place that I was able to introduce you into some I use it with Kelly. I was like, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is you can see here and here. So it's just a very well done game. I think a lot of it is just very it rewards. Obviously, yeah, you can just there's things you can do in the game that you can't do in real life. You can fire an AT4 from inside of.
Right, yeah, no, that's
you can fire
like that
inside a bathroom. Which
we do not recommend doing, folks. Please do not ever fire that inside into a small enclosed space like a bathroom, unless you're completely last resort. You don't mind fucking everything up in your surroundings, but
yeah, also you're if you like the way your head is shaped.
Right? Yeah, no, that's oh god. But yeah, no, of course there are video gamey things that get into the way of the quote unquote realness aspect. But for the most, it's real enough to the point where, of course, but you're top down. the way that it's set up, it really does make you get a flesh. Okay, this is the house. This is what the room is. Like I'm not seeing it from a first person view, but I'm seeing it from how it would be kind of like on like a planning board, I would say.
Yeah.
Like how you would like set up that Monday morning quarterback shit. Like you, all right, here's the road that we're going to be clearing. This is what I want you guys to do, and go like type deal. So it was, I don't know, for me, I want to bring up that game just because like it was something that definitely opened my eyes to how many things I overlooked. Especially because, like I said, if you're going to be carrying a firearm, which I do on the reg, it's like, okay, I definitely got to figure out how I'm going to. And plus, like, just some things that I don't know because we didn't really get in too far of it with like the hostage stuff. But like, what about is over penetration an issue sometimes with that game? Like if you're firing through,
you're talking about like over penetration with like I'm sticking my muzzle through a door, or
more so you're firing around through a terrorist and it goes through the terrorist and then it goes to the wall and hits the civilian.
I don't remember if that's in that game or not. I haven't played in a couple months. That's a good question though. But yeah, and that's a great thing to bring up. That might not be in the game, so that's why the game is not a replacement for training. That's right. Like the game developers are great, but they can only do so much. They can't actually make you die if you get hit with a bullet. It's just like
yeah. Well, or that'd be a horrible stat. Like you clear the room successfully, but then they bring up the stat page. It's like, well, you executed the mission with an S rank, but you were a little trigger happy, and people in this vicinity got hurt. So it's like
that is part of the game.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. If you kill civilians, it's part of the game. It
right. But I mean, like civilians that weren't even on the game map that were playing. You know what I mean? Like because essentially, like if you're CQBing and like, remember we did that one hostage one where it was kind of like in like an apartment.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, you fired your AT-4 in that apartment, and it took out half the freaking. You know what I mean? Like those neighbors and the neighbors, they're all fucked up now. So congratulations, you technically saved it, but you failed. So like they don't do shit like that. But that's just something like everything you got to think about. Like, and that's the funny thing. When I started talking to people, they're like, "Oh, like you're just gonna use a gun for everything." I'm like, "No, like that's the absolute worst mindset to have when you care because it's like this is like so many things can go fucking wrong. Where it's like if I'm using this is the very last goddamn resort possible for me to pull." And I don't know. Just I don't want to start talking about fucking that type of mindset. But I mean, when it comes to this game, it does correlate. But just like I said, the things you got to think about where it's like, if I'm in my house, what walls are safe if I'm going to, really have to take someone and to draw somebody in my house? Like if someone was to break in and I'm on the stairs and I come down, like, can I, and they're in a position, like, can I fire? No, technically not. Cause I don't know what lies beyond, the wall. Yeah. I don't know if my neighbor's there. I don't know what's going on. So it's like, it's really a tricky situation when it comes to like how to actually, because they don't talk about that shit. And I feel like that's maybe one thing. Not to get political, but like if they do talk about like all that jazz in the news, they just gloss over. Oh, there was a shooting here, there's shooting there. But they don't talk about like, and that's why when I see like things where they talk about the officer just pulled fire, I was like, yeah, that was a shitty job on his part, like on his part, because he fucking didn't take into account any of that shit. You just fucking dumped a mag into somebody. I'm like, what the fuck? Like they don't even train them properly sometimes. I'm just that's one thing I've had. What's that?
I've worked with a few police officers on this kind of thing, and they do not. Their training is I can't speak for every police department, but I know officers that I have worked with that one of them is a very close friend, and they are just very undertrained, and it's very sad. But we don't have to go into that. We're talking about door kickers,
right? Yeah, no, well that'll be another time. But yeah.
But anyway, door
kickers. It was a great game that opened my eyes. So and I want to thank you for that, Goose. I think I don't think I ever actually got to thank you for introducing me to that game.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And to be honest with you, I know we've been talking about it as like kind of a learning tool, but at the end of the day, it's also a fun as fuck game. Like it's just a really fun game to play. It's just in my opinion so well done. Like I said, it's been a couple months. I haven't had a chance to play any games in a while, but once I do, you better believe that's like that and Ground Branch are the first games I'm getting on, which I still can't get you guys to play, but it's okay.
Like I said, my PC is barely holding together for this. So
we'll all just get new PCs, and then we'll play Ground Branch. Because Ground Branch 2 is, I know we've already gone over our game, but Ground Branch is a game that gets a lot right as well. It's completely different than it's more like it looks more like your typical first person shooter, but phenomenal game.
I remember you showing me the trailer for it, and I was like, wow, this actually looks really great.
It's so phenomenal that it's probably like too boring for some people to play. It's like, it's so realistic. It's in some aspects. It's like, I was playing a game one time and I was on a sniper team and like, it was like an hour-long game and I was just sitting there the entire time. It's just like, oh wait, this is like hyper realistic.
Right? No, like this is what I'm going to be doing if I was at actual style. I wouldn't be moving. I'd just be sitting in my perch.
Yep. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a bad guy in that building. No, they don't. Most of the games aren't like that. But Ground Branch is phenomenal.
But if I was to sum up, I feel like it's definitely a real time strategy type game. But it's more. But for me, I feel like it's a puzzle game more so than like an action shooter type game. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and that's what CQB is. I mean, it's solving a problem and unfortunately, it's solving a problem with dire consequences.
Right. That's actually really good. Wow. Yeah. That you nailed it right there. Like it's solving with the worst outcomes possible. Like,
yeah. I mean, anytime you do any CQB training, you know, that's like a mantra that should be in your head. It's like just you're solving a problem at all times. If you find yourself, and this works in door kickers too, you know, it's one of the things you can learn from the game is that if you find yourself, now door kickers is a little different because you can pause it obviously, but and you have like, you know, anywhere between like 2 and 10 people you're controlling at a time, but like there's no, if all of your guys are not constantly looking for work, you know, the odds of you passing that level are not high. I'll put it that way. If all your guys are not constantly engaged in doing something, if you forget that, you know, oh, I forgot I left this guy over here, or they have weird names, Gunner or whatever over here, and you know, he's supposed to be, you know, it's cool. It's problem solving. It's constantly looking for work. It kind of teaches you that mindset. Or it doesn't, not teaches you, it kind of awakens you to that mindset. And now when you go do legitimate training, you're not going in completely
blind. Right.
You're blind. You know, you're blind. Don't get me wrong, but like you at least, like when the instructor says, hey, look for work, or hey, we're going to pie this door, you have an idea of in your head of, okay, I'm familiar with the concept. Now I can actually learn how to do it.
Right, which is definitely key. So, folks out there, Assassin's Creed 3 and Ground Branch 2, check those games out.
Door Kickers 2.
Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. Door Kickers 2.
Ground Branch 1. Go play Ground Branch 2. I need people to play with.
Right, and then we'll, if Goose, you want to throw out your screen name for everybody, you could do that, but you don't have to. That's all right. But yeah, no, thanks, Goose, for another good segment for that. Now let's move on to our second fucking roll of the day.
Cool. Yeah, that was good. I'm glad
I got a nice little box here for rolling now, and it's been good and bad because sometimes it'll bounce out. And I'm like, what
nice.
The fuck?
Or that part's not nice, but you gotta get like the old remember the board game Sorry?
Yeah, right. Just have the little pop in there.
Yeah.
Irrational Fears is 18.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I have any irrational fears. Like I just like. I don't know. I was thinking, somebody brought this up the other day, and that's why I was thinking about it. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
I think I don't know if do you remember? Because this is me blanking out so many of these things. Do you remember my podcast with Mike recently that I talked about? Did I talk about something to that extent? I know I talked about my VR story with sharks because that's one of my irrational fears is sharks. Whereas I'm like, for me, it's like I'm never in the water. It's not like they're gonna burst through my front door type shit. I'm always like petrified of sharks because every time before vacation we would go to like the beach or some shit, Shark Week could be on and be like fucking great. Like I'm not fucking doing.
Oh, this. I hate sharks. Okay, yeah, I don't know sharks. That's a good point. I don't like sharks.
You're just gonna piggyback on that one. You're just sharking it.
No, I just don't like sharks. I don't like when I lived in California. I never went surfing because I was too scared of sharks.
Yeah, but that's rational though, because like you're in that environment. So like, I feel like that is irrational. But for me, never a beachgoer, never a thing. That might be irrational for me. So it will be I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
In that sort of context.
Maybe this wasn't the best roll.
Right. Well, fuck it. Some are good, some are bad. That's just how the dice happens.
No, there's a pun in there somewhere.
Right. I don't know. But irrational. Like, okay, there's no sense of a reason for me to.
Like everything I'm scared of is pretty legitimate.
Right. Because like Well, I mean, maybe not so for me for the shark thing, but I'm just trying to think of now of another one because I feel like I dumped that
Yeah,
one.
but irrational. I don't think your fear of sharks is irrational because if you were like, I'm afraid of a shark coming and slitting my throat when I'm sleeping, yeah, that's irrational. But like,
Now, I'm
if
afraid
you're
of a
like,
Sharknado. Yeah, that's a totally irrational.
yeah, but if you're like, oh, I'm afraid of like going in the water and there being sharks there, like, yeah, that's a legitimate fear. People get eaten by sharks.
right? Because one, not my turf. They got home court advantage. Like they could move, they could see, they could do everything. Like fucking, I'm completely fucked in that sort of circumstance.
You know what I always say about sharks? I say this.
Fuck
I'm
'em.
like, yeah, and then I'm like, literally, I'll tell people, I'm like, oh, like, why don't you eat blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because if I woke up and there was a shark in my house, I would kill it so fast. And then I'm like, why would I expect any different if I go into a shark's house?
Right?
Like,
yeah, exactly that. That's a really good point. It's very,
yeah.
It was like, why do I expect? No, that's not how it works. They're gonna do the same shit to me. So it's
yeah, exactly. I'm scared of this shark because I can empathize with the shark.
right.
I get it.
I maybe an irrational fear is something that is partially irrational, but partially kind of like in the same. Like I said, we suck at coming up with this ones, folks. But like just that whole thought, like when you, at least for Mabel, like just when you have sometimes you have that thought, like oh my god, one day she's gonna die. Like that whole thing of
she
like,
is gonna die,
right? But like, just I shouldn't think about it. Like I like that was probably gonna be a thing that happens fucking 20 or not 20, probably fucking 10 years down the line. 10 to hopefully 15 years down the line, where I'm just, but I like it'll dawn on me right now, and I'm like, and I'm going like hug her. You know what I mean? Maybe that's like partially irrational.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair. I guess like it's not the fear of it happening isn't irrational, I guess, but like the like worrying about it is irrational because it's going to happen regardless.
Right. And me trying to like I'm not why should I bring up all those emotions and all those things like right now when she's perfectly healthy, perfectly fine, annoying the bejesus out of me right in front of me. You know what I mean? So I mean I guess that's what I'll go for my irrationality.
That's fair.
Right? I guess. So
sorry, folks. Sorry, this wasn't the most interesting role, folks. That's my bad. I'll get scared of certain things.
Right.
I'll just make it up.
We'll just have to start sending you random shit to see if you're afraid. Here you go, spider in a box. What the fuck? Just shoot it.
Okay, all right, we got one.
Yeah, well, we're not going to do that, just so you know. We're not going to actually send you shit that you got to shoot the box with, so we're good.
Be hilarious, man. You're talking about gun safety and tactics, and then I just like, Philadelphia, man, shoots porch.
Right. Lights up his porch because there was a movement in it. But yeah, no. But anyways, let's go into, because the real reason, not because you love me, not because you want to be that's partly of it. But the real reason is you came on because we're trying to promote you. We're trying to promote something awesome that you're doing, and I feel like that's going to be part of our story, or at least I don't know if you want to do that for your story or if you're going to do that for something later on, but I feel like that should be in the story segment. So
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's start that away. Let's so can we just get into like the background of like how you got into all this? Like I do like kind of the journey up to this point, if you'd be so kind to tell us.
Sure. Okay, where do you want me to start?
Kind of just like how you fell in, because I've known you since college, and when you were still living local, and we weren't really, doing much in terms of like joining any sort of particular, like, at least you didn't really talk to me about it. Like you weren't part of any like a traditional style like jiu-jitsu gym or Muay Thai gym or anything to that extent. I know I did my background when doing the traditional forms martial arts, and you did sports and some other things. Did you do anything similar to that growing up? Traditional martial arts? Yes, no, kind of.
Did I?
Yeah.
I did not. No, it was always something that I was kind of on the outside looking in with. So yeah, okay, that's a good place. I'll start there. I'll start from like my interest in it, how I got into it. So
yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
So I came and I was, like I said, I was always kind of like on the outside looking in. I always had like friends that did like Taekwondo and karate and all that stuff. And it was always something that interested me. But I think because I played like a lot of traditional team sports, it never even occurred to me to like ask my dad if I could, do that as a kid, because I was playing like hockey and lacrosse and, and other team sports. And So I was always just playing team sports. So I always thought like, okay, cool. That's my friend that does karate. That's my friend that does taekwondo. I think my closest friend that kept martial arts like within view of me was our friend Christine, because she was doing Tang Sudo for a long time. And
yeah, I remember. Yeah, we got into a couple conversations about that. That was fun.
Yeah, and she was always like really into it, and it always seemed really cool. And I was always like really impressed by whatever she showed me. And then it was funny because like one day I was like, she was telling me about she was like doing a lot of tournaments, and then she was like, oh, like, which I didn't understand at the time, but I now know is like point sparring for like traditional martial arts.
Yeah, that's all that shit is.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like she was trying to hide that, but like she was like, we were like sparring in my basement one time, and because I was just like, I want to know like what do I do here? Like, do I know how to do this? And she was like, oh, okay, this is how you score a point, whatever. And so we started doing it, and then I don't know how I did. Like we weren't going like hard. She probably could have knocked me out. I don't know, but she was just like, oh, you did pretty good. You should try this. And I was like, okay. And just so it was just always in the back of my head. So fast forward years later, I was jiu-jitsu started coming up. No, I'm sorry. Before that, my next like pivotal moment after that, I remember we had two TVs in the house growing up. We had one in the living room and then one in my parents' room. We didn't even have the one downstairs yet. That you remember. So it was only just two. And I was in my parents' room watching the TV because they were all watching something outside. And I was flipping through the channels and I came across like a mixed martial arts event. I'm like 99% sure it was WEC. I couldn't tell you who was fighting. But I just remember going like, oh, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like this sport I'm into. So I've actually been into like MMA and like watching MMA and following it for a long time. Like even when we were in college, like I was just always interested in it. I would like throw it on.
Yeah, we would watch fights all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I enjoy, so I've been following it for a long time. And then now fast forward to that point where I was like, I need to try something. And everybody kept talking about jiu-jitsu and everybody's like, jiu-jitsu this, jiu-jitsu that. So I was like, I got to try jiu-jitsu. But I didn't know how. Like, I don't know. I was like 20 years old, like, or like when we were in college, this was around this time when I was like, I need to try jiu-jitsu, but I don't know. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to like sign up for a gym. I didn't know how to do anything. Again, it just never in my mind was like, this is something that I can do. But I'm like, I need to. So I don't know, that gap between like actually doing it and thinking it's something that I can do or couldn't do, like got smaller and smaller. But my first ever class was like, it was right after college. I was working in a coffee shop. This guy would come in almost every day and he would do a lot of his work from the coffee shop. And he was like super, super nice guy. His name was Jarrett. And he, ex-Marine, just super, super friendly, polite. And like a couple times he came in and he had like some sort of like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu shirt on. And at one point I was like, do you train Jiu-Jitsu? And he's like, yeah, I'm a black belt. I coach at this like local gym. And I was like, I've always wanted to try. And he's like, well, come on down. So I was like, okay. I was like, what do I need? Just all the things people ask before their first jiu-jitsu class. What do I need? Am I going to get beat up? Blah, 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 blah. So
you're not going to punch you in the face, are you?
Yeah. Which is I'll get to this, but now that I coach jiu-jitsu, like it's some of the questions I asked, I now get from people, and it's just funny. But
that comes full circle, Goose.
Oh yeah, it does. So I go and I try it, and this is something I'll just never forget because he was such a good teacher, and they were doing kimuras. Get kimura from guard, which is a real basic, day one submission. Not that I should rephrase that. It's not like it's like you learn this on your first day and never use it again. It's a highly used,
it's one of the fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fundamental thing, and it's a really good submission to learn on your first day. And I'll never forget because we did it, and he made me drill it like 100 times each side, like 100 times each side and then like go back, 100 times left, 100 times right, 100 times left, 100 times right. And we just went back and forth. And I think the head instructor ended up going and like onto something else, but he's like, I'm just going to work with this kid because it's his first day. And I like loved it. But at the time I had like no money to join the gym. So I was like, well, fuck, So then I got in the military and I met a lot of people that were into wrestling and I met a lot of people that were so I was like, I would like train on and off. And then I got into the combatives, I got really into that. And so I was like building a base of like martial arts. At the time too, I got into kickboxing, mostly Muay Thai, which I know people are like, oh, Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever.
Yeah, so, Mike still wants to fight you.
My style. I know. Yeah, I want to, Mike and I have a nice little MMA match, a little spar. But anyway, so yeah, I trained like, start a little Thai boxing, but I really started falling in love with jiu-jitsu and grappling and whatever. And so I guess just fast forward to kind of bring this up to a little more modern day. I was still in the military. I was stationed in New Jersey. I knew that was where I was going to get out of the military. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start looking for a gym because that way when I get out, I can still, if I stay in this area, I can still train here. I actually, probably at the time, didn't plan on actually staying in this area, but I knew I'd be here for a little while anyway. So I found Balance Studios in Philadelphia because I had heard of Phil and Rick McLaurice, the owners. I knew they were legit. Those guys, I could do a whole podcast on their background, but to keep it, you can Google it.
Phil and Rick, I would love to have them on if you could ever get that sort of situation going. If you could bring them in, we could all talk together. Because I know you were talking to me one night. You were like, "Hey, well, I'm just having a drink with one of the guys, and he's fucking awesome." So I was like, "Hey, like that'd be a great podcast." That at least was in my head.
Rick McLaurice would be an amazing podcast guest. He's been on a couple podcasts before, but I'll talk to him. But
humble small podcast.
Yeah, but anyway, so I knew that they were there, so I went and signed up, and then that's how I really got into it. That was a couple years ago, and I really was like, all right, now I'm doing this. I'm doing this thing. I don't care. Like I've gone and stopped so many times, which is as you go on in jiu-jitsu, you realize people do that a lot. People kind of they start and they stop and they start and they stop and they start and they stop, and then they start and then they keep going, and then once they keep going a little bit, they're like, "Fuck, I should have never stopped." That's my story too.
And how old were you when you finally started? Like, all right, I'm doing this.
This was, let's see, COVID hit March of 2020, right?
Right.
So you know what it was? It was probably a year-ish before that. However, even then, even though I was like, I'm doing this, that was I was training for a couple months, and then I had to get shoulder surgery, not related to jiu-jitsu, just related to a work injury. I had to get shoulder surgery. She was out, but now if I had to get surgery,
he fired AT4 indoors, folks. That's what counts.
No, never fired an AT4. Would love to if anybody has one. So I had to get surgery, so I was out for 6 months. And again, this was if I had to get shoulder surgery right now, I know what I would do to keep my jiu-jitsu as fresh and as much training as possible dealing with limitations. I was a several month white belt at the time, and so it's I couldn't really do anything. The coaches were very nice. They were like, "You can come by, you can do whatever," and I was like, "Yeah, let me figure it out." But I didn't know what to do, so I basically took 6 months off, and then I come back, and I was back for another 2 months. And then they're like, "Oh, hey, we're shutting the gym down because of COVID." And I was like, "What the fuck?" So basically, after we reopened from COVID, which was August of 2020, I was there. I got the text from the gym manager, who's actually now a really good friend of mine. And he was like, "Hey, we're opening back up in August." And I said, "Okay, I will be there." And I was there. I was the first one there that day. I'll never forget. I was the first one there. And then I just didn't stop. I just haven't stopped going since. Yeah,
I remember too. You were telling me that even during shutdown, you had to do some sort of some speakeasy style hidden underground training sessions. I remember that was a funny thing that you were telling us about and shit. So.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
It was a Wild West time back then, folks.
There may have been some instances where we had to board up the windows of the gym because of the riots, and then maybe the boards had to stay up for a little bit, and maybe people were inside that gym. I can't confirm or deny that, but it's a lot of secret knocks. We got through it. So we did that, and then it's been whole hard training ever since then. I started competing a lot last year. I've taken some time off of competing just because of grad school, but that brings us to the reason we're here, the long-winded reason why we're here in the first place. I have a match coming up on November 13th, and I'm not just here to promote the match. I'm here to promote and bring awareness to a fundraiser, a fundraising organization. I guess they're not a fundraising organization. They're an organization that we are helping raise funds for. They're an organization we are helping raise funds for called We Defy, and We Defy helps get disabled combat veterans into jiu-jitsu and fitness. You can read about them all on their website. They are a fantastic organization. The part of my story I skipped is that while I was so fortunate to make it out of my military service without any, major physical, I got all my limbs intact. I'm good to go. I'm for relative to some people, I got off scot-free relative to some of our, some of the hard hitters out there that have been, that did the damn thing. So, for those that aren't weren't as fortunate as me, even me, like even somebody who's not, like, I have no major physical ailments. It's awesome. Like I'm very lucky. But even for me, like I how should I put this? Jiu-jitsu helped me get out of the military. It's not like not like they've got me out, but in the military, you have a community. You have I know it's kind of a stereotype, but it's true. You have a community of people, and the community that you have there is unlike any other community that you have outside of there. It's just, that's just how it is. And it's not, it's not to say, like, I don't know. It's not to say anything bad about anything else, but it's just the community in the military is a very, very unique community. And so when I got out of that, I personally needed another community. And I keep saying I will never forget, but I will never forget this, because the day I got out of the military was a big deal. Like, I called you. I was like, I left base for the last time. And I left base, and I was like, I remember like looking at the base in the rearview mirror, having my uniform in my backpack, and just being like, well, fuck.
Yeah, there are definitely times, like going back to like the first role. It's like there are definitely times where like you could tell the chapter's ended.
Yeah, exactly. And it was cool. Like, it was bittersweet. It was one of those things where I was like, I knew it was time for me for a multitude of reasons, but I knew it was time to move on. And but I'll never forget, because I look back and I was like, okay, my whole identity for the past 6 years was being in the military. When you're in the military, you can't be half-assed in the military. That's just not going to cut it. Your whole identity and your whole life is tied to that, because it has to be, right? You have to do your job. You have to be able to do your job at any given time. You have to be able to do your job effectively at any given time, because you start fucking up, bad things start happening. And so now it's like, okay, that's over. And it's a big mental, amongst other mental issues that I don't, that we don't have to go into right now. Like, it's just very taxing on your brain. I'll never forget.
We're gonna bear them all in this episode for you.
That's all right. But I went after I left base, because I left a little, before the typical quote unquote work day would end. So I went to the gym, I lifted weights, and then I went to jiu-jitsu, because that's what I did every day. And I'll never forget, because like, to me, this was like one of the biggest days of my life. And I just pull up to the gym. I walk in, and my friend Dan was there, and we're like, oh, what's up? What's going on? And he's just like, not much. And he's like, dude, and he just starts like complaining about something. Dan's like one of my best friends at jiu-jitsu. And he just like starts complaining about something. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm laughing. I'm just like, Dan, it's just like a normal, whatever day of the week it was, Yeah. And but then I just remember at one point we were talking, he's like, oh yeah, today's your last day, huh? I was like, yeah. He goes, how was it? And I was like, it was all right, did the paperwork, got there. He goes, yeah, cool, that's awesome, man. Yeah, so anyway, and I'm just like, it just made it like so not big of a deal that I was like, oh yeah, that's right, like, life's going on, life is not stopping. And then I had all my friends there, and it was just a great night. And
yeah, because for them nothing changed. Yeah. Except that you got more available. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that was a good thing for them.
Yeah, and so today, not today, but that day was just like, yeah, it was wild. So, but anyway, yeah, jiu-jitsu, like, I was not necessarily in the best, mental state. Again, just had a lot going on, and you're dealing with stuff, and you're leaving a family and a community, but jiu-jitsu really gave me like another family. It's very
community.
Yeah, it's a very tight-knit community. And while it can't perfectly emulate the military, well, I mean, it's also, there's a lot of veterans that train jiu-jitsu, and I think it's for this reason. Like, it gives you another family, it gives you another community of similar. It's kind of like similarly minded people, and also like it's a community of people you're doing a bunch of hard shit with, and that's that bonds people. So I'm looking off on a tangent there about myself. I'm sorry, but We
That's
Defy
why you're
gets
on. That's fine.
but they get disabled combat veterans into fitness and jiu-jitsu. And so I have a match on November 13th with the Riverfront Fights. They're a really cool organization out of Delaware. And it is a fundraiser for We Defy. So we are currently fundraising. Let me just bring up all the info so I don't put out anything.
Yeah, and then anything that that Goose is going to be talking about, folks, I'll make sure to put into the episode description, so you could go to all those links and check out all the stuff.
Yes,
so if I could bother you while you're looking stuff up, is this fight going to be in Delaware? You're going to be in that?
Yeah, it's in Wilmington.
Nice.
Wilmington, Delaware. The Riverfront is the organization, and they it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be an amazing card. If you look at the people on this card, it's like, I mean, front to back, it's killers. It's, if you are a fan of jiu-jitsu, submission grappling, what have you, like, this is going to be a card to watch. I mean, we got some of the most people are from like the East Coast. I mean, it's pretty much just an all-star team of the East Coast, and some people are coming in from further. But it's it's funny. I just went to go look for the flyer, and I'm looking at all the fights now, and I'm just like, or all the matches now, rather, and it's cool. It's going to be a good one. But so anyway, the whole point of the event is to raise money for We Defy. So they have each participant raising money, and so if you would like to donate, if you'd like to help, you can just Venmo. It's real simple. You just go on Venmo, just like anything else, and you just Venmo at Riverfront Fights, and then I'm sure you said you put that in the description, but Riverfront Fights is on Venmo. And just put my name, which is Sean, Sean. My last name is kind of hard to spell, but it's Robichaud. If you just put Sean R, I think I'm the only Sean R on the card. Put that in the comment when you send the thing, just so they know I sent you. Or if you don't like me, you can put my wife's name, Kelly. you can put Kelly Zacchio. That's fine. It doesn't really. I don't really care if you don't put anybody's name. To be honest with you, I just care that this money goes to these people. But yeah, Kelly Zacchio. She has to. She's
also fighting.
Well. Yeah, she's also on the card. So,
husband and wife duo, folks. Just so you know.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool that we both ended up getting matches on the card. We weren't sure if that was going to happen. And Kelly got hers like 2 days before I got mine. And I was like, motherfucker, they didn't pick me for this card. I was like, nobody's going to bring more attention to this cause than me. And then 2 days later.
It wasn't because she started after you did too. Because I remember she wasn't an avid jiu-jitsu person. And then you told me when she started getting into it, and she got really good. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. No, she got into it because I was basically like, I knew she'd be good at it. And I knew she would like it. But if you know my wife for more than 5 minutes, she's not the kind of person that you can be like, oh, I think you'll like this. You should do it. This isn't news to her either. It's not like I'm breaking any news. Like you, at least, so like I just started like dropping subtle hints, and we'd do something, and I'd be like, hey, why don't you try this choke out?
Come to class, see what's up.
Every once in a while, I'd be like, yeah, you come if you're interested, whatever, But I would never like be like, oh, you should come to class, because the second if I ever said, hey, you should come try jiu-jitsu, she'd be like, no.
That's how the female brain works. Not we're not gonna start that whole fight, but I mean, I get it, man.
She's just very So I know, and again, this is not news to anybody, but this is But anyway, she ended up doing it, and I think she ended up liking it. But
I think that's awesome. I think that's the both you getting in on it, both you raising the money for this whole thing, and also like, hey, is this thing that the public could attend?
I believe it is. If not, it will be. Yes, I mean it. I'll put it this way: it's definitely things the public can attend. In Wilmington. If you are not going to be in Wilmington that day, though, it will be streamed, I believe, on YouTube or Facebook. And I'll put the link out.
Definitely give me the link for that, because Mike's the same thing when he's fighting over in Wales. Of course, I'm not going to be able to go see that fight. But hey, folks, you never know. You might be able to catch me or Goosin live in person.
Yeah, it's but yeah, it'll be November 13th in Wilmington, and then it will be streamed as well.
That is a Sunday for everybody.
That is a Sunday.
Who is wondering.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, we're raising money. Like I said, I'm on the card. Kelly's on the card. We have a bunch of friends on the card. What was I going to say? Yeah. And so the whole organization, the whole proceeds go to We Defy, which is, again, go read up on their website, go read what they do, because they really make a difference. They really help people. This isn't one of those charities that you're going to throw money at and then all of a sudden the money is just going to end up in some dude's pocket. No, they're legit.
Or better yet, when it goes to a celebrity that they have for the advertisements that they do a lot. It's a bullshit thing.
No, yeah, nothing like that. These guys are as legit as it gets. They've been doing good work for a long time, so they know. They're jiu-jitsu guys. They're veterans. They know how to get jiu-jitsu. They know how to get veterans into jiu-jitsu. And I think it's something that if you're out there and you're a veteran listening to this and you don't train and you're looking for that sense of kind of community and belonging, then get your ass to your nearest jiu-jitsu gym. If you don't know where to train or if you don't know what's legit, find me. You can find me on at people doing martial arts on Instagram. That's my martial arts photography page. I'm on that a lot more than I am on my personal social media. Find me, message me, and I'll help you find something in your area, because there's a bunch of legit gyms out there. And if you're not training and you've been involved in any sort of, if you're a veteran or law enforcement, firefighter, what have you, I mean, the community you'll find there is, and even if you're not any of those things,
just like I was gonna say, just a random civilian,
you're just a random person
that just wants to do something.
Everybody that trains jiu-jitsu is a giant jiu-jitsu evangelist. I get it. Like, it's annoying, but the fact of the matter is, like, I'm saying this because I truly believe it. I think it'll just make your life better. Like, your life, like, if your life's going good, great, you can make it better. If your life sucks, it'll, maybe it'll still suck, but it'll suck a little bit less. And you'll learn a lot and you meet cool people. And as an adult too, it's, as a kid, I used to compete a lot in sports, and you don't have a lot of avenues to compete as a kid, or as an adult rather. And this is like an avenue that I love competing. There's nothing I like more. And so jiu-jitsu gives me an avenue to compete, and it gives me an avenue to compete against people that are very talented and very skilled. And it's allowed me to meet cool people and just do a bunch of cool things. And like, I mean, for the listeners, we talked about my wife before. She trained. I mean, she was a college level softball player. The powerlifting competitions. She's a complete stud of an athlete. I mean, I have no problem saying my wife is twice the athlete I'll ever be. But and this is a great. It's been great for her. We train together technically, but we train separate but together. It's one of those things where I mean, she's a complete monster of an athlete. I mean, she's just so talented in athletics, and she has found that jiu-jitsu is a great way for her to still compete in something, and she loves it, and she competes a lot, and I compete a lot. So, I'm going to stop evangelizing for jiu-jitsu now, but I highly recommend if you are listening to this and you are interested in jiu-jitsu, message anybody related to this podcast, even Seti, and he'll be like, well, I didn't hear that episode. Why are you guys messaging me about jiu-jitsu? But
but he'll relay the message to me, and then I'll relay it to Goose. But yeah, no, I just thought of a what's it called, like a little tagline for which is the worst tagline in the world, but I'm just gonna anybody's gonna diarrhea the mouth. It's that organization. It puts veterans into jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu into veterans. It'll be
I'll
like I said,
that to them.
It's the worst thing possible. But hey, it's a work in progress. Yeah, man. No, thank you for that. Like, that was I mean, just that whole story, just hearing it from start to finish. Because like I said, I only know, and that's the best thing about this whole thing. Like, I mean, like, not that I wouldn't talk to you about this just next time I hang out, whatever the fuck, but just having a format where I could kind of like really interview my friends. Like, right? Like, let me really see what these fuckers are. But I mean, I never got to hear some of that earlier stuff, which was really cool. And so I think it's a great story for folks to just like, hey, like, you don't have to be like, because I feel like a lot of times where you hear about these athletes, it's like, oh, well, they like you said, like, Kelly's a fucking monster athlete, like, or they're just they're kind of like they were born for this sort of thing. Like, oh, these people, like, they just came from this fighting class or cast of people, and this and that. Where it's like, no, like, some just regular ass folks, like you said, Lex Friedman got his fucking black belt jiu-jitsu at your gym type deal.
At my gym, yeah. So
you got
Rick, the guys I was talking about earlier gave Lex his black belt.
Yeah. So like, this is it's not like this isn't like a thing where don't feel like, I'm not, there's no way I could do this type deal. I wouldn't even know where. I mean, yeah, of course, if you're like morbidly obese at 500 pounds, like maybe this isn't the best thing for you to start, as your first thing to try to get back in shape. But
Yeah, but you still
but
come. But yeah, I see what you're saying. You definitely should be, it shouldn't be your first. It's not like, oh, I'm going to join jiu-jitsu, I'm going to lose, 100 pounds, whatever. You might, but there's better avenues to do that. However, if you are 500 pounds and you're looking to turn your life around, I think jiu-jitsu is a good thing to get into.
And it's something that you can get into. And it's not like there's like they're not going to hold you off at the door. They're not going, oh wait, let me check you. Or do you have a badass background in this? No. Okay, sorry, turn you away at the door. Like it's a very open community, which I feel like just like the whole thing when we got into whiskey, where we got into or just even me, like this. I'm not getting into that night thing just yet because I'm still way underweight for me to do anything like that. I got to bulk up some more. But for when I want to start, doing my night fighting.
Oh, I think I meant for jiu-jitsu. Okay. Yeah, you need
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I gotta bulk up more. I just lost fucking 20 pounds this year just from health. But, well, I mean, like it was 20 bad pounds, I will say. I feel better. But, but I gotta definitely put on healthy pounds now. But yeah, no, I mean, like it's something that they're not gonna just completely shun you away because you don't have this tier 1 background. Oh, you're not a door kicker? Well, sorry, fucking shun you away type deal. It's like, no, you could join this, without any experience, without any sort of martial arts background. Just learn, be open to the learning experience. Yep. And it might be good to get the discipline in there. Like when I was a kid, when I did the traditional martial arts stuff, like I wasn't disciplined at all. And then I took that sort of shit and I got it kicked into me. Like,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I definitely, I say jiu-jitsu just because I think it's, I love jiu-jitsu but I love all martial arts. I mean, I still train Muay Thai. I train with MMA guys. I train with Thai fighters. I train with, and the great thing about martial arts is that like jiu-jitsu is a community, but then like there's also the overreaching martial arts community as a whole, especially with the popularizing of like MMA. I know guys that are pro MMA fighters. I know guys that are professional jiu-jitsu guys. I know guys that are professional accountants that are kicking those guys' asses. It's like you're dead on when you say like you should just go for it. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter anything, because there's a place for you. Like there's 100% a place for you. I train with everybody from, I'm trying to think, like, there's CEOs that I know, CEOs that train jiu-jitsu. I also know dudes that, I know, and I'm like, one of my good friends is a teacher. One of my good friends is a cop. Like, it's everybody in between. Accountant, real estate agent, chef. I'm just trying to name off some of the jobs my friends have. I don't even know what some people do, but there's no one type of person that's good at jiu-jitsu. We have one of my good friends that I train with all the time, that I'm training with tonight. He's a former D1 college wrestler. You think that guy knows anything about grappling? Yeah, he does. Guess what? He came on his first day of jiu-jitsu and he put on a white belt just like everybody else, and he got his face smashed in the mat just like everybody else, and he decided, okay, He walked in there with an open mind and just said, yeah, okay, cool. I'm a D1 college wrestler. I'm a badass amongst badasses. However, it's time for me to learn jiu-jitsu. It's time for me to get humbled. And so that's what he did. He let himself be humble. And now he's a hell of a fucking jiu-jitsu player. He uses that wrestling to his advantage, obviously. But I have everybody from him to, I have people that don't, I have friends that do jiu-jitsu that don't work out. It's their only form of exercise. Crazy to me because I'm like,
right. Yeah. You're very fit.
You know me, But yeah, I have friends that do that, and they, we train together, we beat each other up, we tap each other. There's no room for ego in jiu-jitsu, which is great. I mean, occasionally it slips through the cracks, but for the most part, I mean, I know 120-pound girls that will beat up almost anybody listening to this podcast. It's the truth. But yeah, I think it's definitely, there's a good place for everybody, and the community does things as a whole. We have this going on. There's also a popular jiu-jitsu promotion out there called Tap Cancer Out, where they raise money for cancer research every year.
Yeah, didn't Dave do that one?
Dave did that a long time ago. Kelly did it a couple years back. I was going to do it this year, but there's one in Philly on like the Saturday before my match. So I was just like, I can only raise money for one cause at a time.
That's all right. Next year.
Yeah, for sure. You should definitely, like, I don't know, if you really don't like me and you don't want to donate to this, my cause, go donate to somebody doing Tap Cancer Out. Just these are all like legitimate. The community is very involved in that, and I I credit.
Or folks, join a gym and get sponsored and sponsor Tap Cancer out for yourself or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go compete.
Competing against Goose. Like, come on, it's open.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, you can definitely. I always recommend people compete. Competition in martial arts is it really teaches you some stuff. You can get as many roles in at the gym as you want. If you're a Thai fighter, you can get as much sparring sessions in as you want. MMA fighter, same thing. There's nothing like competing against somebody in a tournament, or even in just a one-on-one match, a super fight. It's completely different. So I recommend getting into it, compete, go out there. You don't have to be some ultra alpha male type athlete who's going to go out there and crush someone. No, like trust me, there's nerds out there. That's what jiu-jitsu is. It's a bunch of nerds kicking the crap out of each other. It's like, for the most part, I mean, obviously, and then there's also, now with the popularization of it, we have a lot of wrestlers coming over. So there's also athletic studs, but it's nerds fighting athletes. Go look up Mikey Musumeci. Tell me that dude just looks like that dude. If I said, hey, this guy, he's one of these two things. He either programs computers or trains jiu-jitsu. It's
so he looks like me.
He makes you look like a freaking ad. Go Google him right now. Mikey Musumeci. He's arguably the best grappler. I mean, Gordon Ryan is up there, but Mikey Musumeci is top 3 grapplers alive right now. It's okay, top 5, but he might be in the top 3.
He's up there.
He's up there. The point is, he's up there. But yeah, man, the community, like these guys I'm going to train with tonight. That's why originally I had a time restriction, but I was able to start this a little earlier. These guys I'm training with tonight, I'm not even training at my main gym tonight. I'm training at a gym called Underground Arts. If you're in New Jersey, they're in Riverton, New Jersey. Go train there. Dez, Craig, and Onyx they're amazing. Yeah, obviously, like I'm a team balance guy. That's my team. Rick and Phil have done so much for me. I'm not like, but what's cool about Rick and Phil is that they're not the kind of guys that own a jiu-jitsu gym and say, hey, you can't go train somewhere else. No, one of their black belts opened a gym. They say, go train there. Go train with him. He's good. Like, there's no ego. Rick and Phil could kill anybody I know with their bare hands without even putting up a fight. I've watched Rick McGleary's run through several high-level black belts in a row, barely breaking a sweat. He's the toughest dude out there, and he has the littlest ego of all time. So I go train with my friends at Underground Arts on Fridays. I go train, at Balance. Rick, I can text Rick at any time. Like, there's no... You go to these gyms, there's no ego. That's what's great about it. These guys are the toughest, baddest dudes on the planet, and they're just some of the nicest people. But I'm going to train at Underground Arts, my friend's gym in Riverton, New Jersey. Those 3 guys I just mentioned, and Des and Craig are brothers, and it's they run the gym, and they are. I mean,
well, sorry to cut in there. But
yeah,
I feel like that's a big difference because coming from the traditional world, like I do like remember there being not so much like a stigma, but there was like a little bit of competitiveness. But I feel like that's also, I'm not gonna speak for the people that brought me up in that world, but like from judging off of like what I got out of it, it was more so like we did encourage if they were in the alliance of like the schools that were like partnered up together, like they did do that. But like if you went out of school, like it wasn't really a very it was kind of frowned upon type deal. So like, I feel like there's the difference between like when you're putting out those schools for like in a sense for like a business sense versus like there's a passion for it. There's people who want you to train with their students or their people that came up with them, or what I mean. There's more of that, like you said, there's more of that community. So which will happen. You will happen to come across some gyms where it's like, oh, fuck that gym, we hate that gym. Or so there's other ones that are like, no, train here, train there. Like train as many places as you can. Get all the experience you could get. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
if that means any.
No, you're 100% right. That was a big thing in martial arts for a long time, and the UFC helped change a lot of that because, we got to see like what works versus what doesn't work, and it's very evident. And so yeah, when I go train with my friends at another gym on Friday, and I like Kelly cross trains a lot at different gyms, and it's like you should do that because nobody has all the answers, and so if you can get answers from as many people as possible, and guess what? Worst case scenario, you learn something, it doesn't work, it sucks. You go to a bad instructor, whatever. You're going to get that beaten out of you as soon as you return somewhere legitimate anyway, because it's just not going to work. And
right, that's it. Trial and error, and that's it. And don't, like you said, have that humility, have that open mind where it's like, I'm not going to be the untouchable. I'm going to get touched. I'm definitely going to get touched a lot, and not the best ways. So, definitely. I know for a fact when I'm going to get the living shit kicked out of me on a daily basis for a good probably year and a half before I even get anywhere near good. So
listen, I teach a beginner jiu-jitsu class, and people are constantly asking me, in our school, the beginners don't roll, and rolling is jiu-jitsu. For those that don't know, it's the word for like sparring, more or less, in jiu-jitsu. The beginner class, you don't roll. Some schools do it differently, and that's, this is just how we do it. And so the beginner class, you don't roll, but we also don't keep people locked in the beginner class for a long time. That's kind of the trade-off. Anyway, different schools do it differently. I'm not claiming we have the right answer, just how we do it.
Yeah, that's your form of basic, essentially.
Yeah, and so we have a one-on-one class that I teach, and a lot of people ask me, "Hey, am I ready to roll? Am I ready to?" And I kind of forgot why I got into talking about this, but you mentioned something, and it's just like I want people, again, the shit kicked out of you. My criteria, if I'm going to tell somebody, "Hey, you should go roll," or you should go to the advanced class, and then you should go roll. My criteria are they going to be able to get the crap kicked out of them safely? That's like, I'm concerned with all these people's safety. If they're my students, I'm highly, that's the first thing obviously I'm concerned with, because you're doing a physical thing. You're doing something that's rooted in violence. And as a community, the jiu-jitsu community should not forget that, because I think we're starting to forget that our sport and our martial art is a martial art.
Yeah, we're so wholesome and friendly. But we're also fucking breaking arms, and that's a possibility.
There's a whole conversation that we could do another whole podcast on, but sport jiu-jitsu versus like self-defense jiu-jitsu. There's a whole thing. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that right now, but just remember that when you train these things, you're training something rooted in violence, and never forget that that's what it's for.
Right.
So when I go have my guys train, obviously I'm sending them to the wolves, because for about a year, you're going to get the crap kicked out of you. And that's how it should be. And, granted, don't get me wrong. It's not like you're just going to spend a year not being able to do anything. You're going to learn how to defend yourself, but that's how you learn. You practice the moves. You understand the positions. You understand what works, what doesn't work. And then you go and apply it. And when you apply it, maybe you go against another white belt and you apply a technique and it works, and you say, "Oh my God, I'm great. I know how to do this technique." And then you get even just like some high level blue belt, some purple belt, and you try that crap on them, and they're like, they don't even lose a wink of sleep over. It's like, oh, this is so so unrealistically ineffective. So then you learn, okay, cool, I can't do that. It worked against the guy that doesn't know, but as soon as I do it to somebody who knows something, now it doesn't work. Okay, I can't do that anymore. Okay, maybe this blue belt that I was going with caught me in 3 arm bars. How do I make myself not vulnerable to arm bars? And you work it. And then maybe if I do this, and then you go again, and then you get arm barred 3 times again, and you're like, well, that didn't work. Maybe I do this. And then you ask your coach, and you ask for instruction, and you just get better. And then, a couple months in, you start being able to be competitive, and some blue belt tells you, "Hey man, good job. Like, you didn't get tapped that round." And that's like such an accomplishment that, like, oh my God, somebody with a color belt, and blue belt, by the way, is the second belt. It's not like you're not anything crazy jiu-jitsu god at that point. You're somebody who's been training for a minute. But as a white belt, it's all the difference. And so you're going in and you're working things, and it's just so like, you're going to get the crap kicked out of you for a year, but that's good, because you're going to learn a ton. You learn so much by getting the crap kicked out of you for the most part, as long as you have good training partners. Have I evangelized jiu-jitsu enough? Have I convinced everybody to go?
Right? Are you smoking yet? That whole Family Guy ad. But no, I mean, that's it's just one of those things that, like, you expect to, like I said, from studying all my manuals, where it's like, okay, like everything that I thought I had a basic concept, because like I said, we were never taught like weapons combat when I was doing the traditional Tank Sudo shit. Like, it was always just like, oh, we do our forms, we do our sparring, that's about it. Like, what I mean, we learn our like minor self-defense things, but that's pretty much the only thing that they taught us. But like, in terms of a weapons class, like, we did bow staff and did like a couple of traditional style things, but like it was just, but learning the manuals, it's like, oh, okay, you're coming in with this, it's like, you could be so easily, if for someone who actually knows that shit, like, it's the littlest swipe that you do, that the minute you leave yourself open, just you're fucked, you're done, you're going for it. Like, it's just one of those things where I just know that, okay, everything that I knew up to this point has either been wrong, it's just a flashy bullshit that I saw in a movie once or twice. You know what I mean? It's all this. It's like, this isn't practical, but what you're gonna be learning is. So it's like, okay, like, be open for that. Nothing that you like kind of like the whole thing talk about. I guess we're bleeding into the philosophy here, but like, when we're talking about like the with door kickers, with any sort of thing that you got to, I don't know, to play around with, where it's like, there's a difference between, all right, that's what that is. Like, you could, knowing just fooling around with your buddies, like what I would used to do, like just getting like those little tiny sword fights, around the house. It's like you learn a little bit of the fundamentals, like distance and shit like that. But you're never gonna know what it's like when you're going against like the people who actually know what the fuck they're doing. So definitely be mindful of that every chance that you get when you're stepping into, like you said, a sport that's rooted in violence. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get you're gonna get checked, and you're gonna have to just be okay with that. And so that's where I think we should end it there, at least, because we don't want to get too long on it. Because I know you got somewhere to be, and I know Mabel's got her bullshit that she wants to try to get me to do, like food. But so thanks for that, Goosey. I'm not even my story's bullshit now because I don't. It wasn't even a thing to begin. I didn't even have that much of a story to begin with, so that's good. We'll go on to our third role, and then we'll move on to our philosophy part, where you're gonna like how I stole straight up from Grantham, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm starting to dad advice. Number 7 is no, that's one that said he definitely wants to do number 7, so I think that'd be one that we save for him.
Okay.
So just not that you're not good enough for it, but it's just one of those things that I think. Okay. This is another one. Oh Jesus Christ! Which one of the 7 dwarves is most like your personality?
I'm gonna have to Google what the 7 dwarves.
Yeah,
are.
I was just about to say that. I was like, I have no idea. All right.
Probably Gimli.
That's there we go. Let's see the 7 dwarf names. Okay. So it was Dopey, Bashful, Grumpy, Sleepy, Sneezy, Happy, Doc. I think that was Bashful, Doc, Dopey, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Sneezy.
Today it's Sleepy. That is probably for the last week. It's been Sleepy. I just finished my 3rd coffee. I guess for the most part, probably Dopey. I'm pretty dopey.
I want to say for the longest time I was definitely grumpy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, for the longest time, just definitely grumpy. But grumpy about bullshit that I couldn't change. Grumpy about stuff that I was I was in my own head a lot. So like I'm hopefully gonna turn around from grumpy to Doc. But like Doc was like the one that was always like almost like kind of like the leader-ish, the one that was like kind of like he was kind because he wasn't really following. I at least from what I remember from the lore, Doc was kind of just like your. Let's see if I could look at the pictures. Yeah, Doc. I think he was the leader one. Where it was like, okay, let me encapsulate all the bullshit that all kind of like all these traits, and let me kind of like figure out a way to make them all work for me. Type deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's where I want to be. That's where I'm going with it. Like let me finally be the master of my own fucking destiny and just stop fucking falling into a certain niche. Let me kind of like figure it out for the better. I don't know. At least that's where I'm being kind of optimistic about it. Like, or hopefully I'm not too arrogant about it either. Who's to say I'm not gonna definitely be like that? But I'm trying. I'm trying to utilize everything. So. But yeah, that's another. Sometimes you get good ones, folks. Sometimes you get bad ones, but that's how it goes. And so finally, our philosophy. Let's wrap up our whole thing that we've been talking about. Like I said, we kind of bled into it before talking about our whole thing, but to kind of sum everything up, though, and like I said, maybe give your best dad advice out there to fellow listeners who might be needing someone of your caliber, Goose, to give them some.
What do they want? What am I? 22? That's I'm pretty small. I'm not.
Well, someone with because quite frankly, I love the fact that I know so many different people, so many different backgrounds. Like if Mike was able to say something that was resonate with someone who, that someone really liked Mike and someone liked, what he was kind of coming from. So same thing with you. Like if we got a viewer out there that they don't quite fall into, I don't know why they would be listening to this podcast to begin with, but I mean like if. But for per se, like like maybe you would be able to give, or just to mention like shit that you've gone through, and what I've gone through. 2 different lifestyles. So I mean, like, sure. It's maybe one thing we could take away. So yeah, what would you say for the folks out there, Goosey?
So just give them like a one-liner advice,
or just any sort of. It doesn't have to be a one-liner. Just anything that you feel like has to be something that you would have liked to have been told when you were growing up. That's how I like to see it too.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Random dad advice.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna steal from I'm gonna basically steal from Jocko Willink for those unfamiliar.
Hey, he's not a bad guy to steal from. I mean, like he's
No.
a bad guy to steal from. Like, I would not do. But
Don't rob his house, but
right. But
yeah.
to share a philosophy with, he's not a bad guy to do that with. So that's good.
No. I'm gonna steal from Jocko, and like I won't directly steal from him, but basically, you are ultimately responsible for everything in your life. That's not to say that if you've gone through some sort of trauma or abuse or whatever, that's not saying it's your fault. But you are ultimately responsible for everything in your life. Once you realize that, for me anyway, once I realized that, truly understood what that meant, I'm responsible for anything in my life. If I have successes, that's great. That's on me. And then if I have failures, it's like, okay, cool. That's on me as well. This is me. Like even if somebody fucks me over, even if whatever happens, I put myself in that situation. And it's not to say you should look at everything in your life that comes your way and say, oh, this is my fault. How could I let this happen?
Right. That's why, folks, he did write 2 books. One was Extreme Ownership, and one was Dichotomy. You know what I mean? So like there is a balance per se.
Yeah. But you need to understand that if you want, like, I know it's the most cheesy advice ever, but like basically if you want something to be a certain way, like that's up to you. Like it can be. But
it's not going to be gifted to you. It's not.
Yeah, the classic example is just like is working out, right? Like I mean, I'm somebody who just I work out every day. That's just what I do. But it's not like I was just born with some intuitive notion to like I should do this and like it's easy. Like no, it's hard. I'm a naturally lazy person, but I just get up every day and work out. Like that's just it. It's just. And then people, I don't have time. I don't have this. Okay, it's cool. Maybe you don't have time. Maybe you can't do it. Maybe okay. I don't know your life. Maybe you do have an incredibly complicated life that's more complicated and that I'll ever understand. Okay, all right, maybe that's cool. And then, but if you want something, you're bad enough. You're going to work hard enough for it. If you don't work hard enough for it, then you didn't want it bad enough. I've never said that out loud the way that I just phrased it. But clip that. That
sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty legit. I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's if you want, and this is like, I'm not just talking like, I'm not trying to sound like a motivational Instagram post here, but like everything, like every little thing, not just like, if I want a job, I want to be in shape. I want like literally just every little thing. Like think about it. Like if you want McDonald's, but you're at home and you're like, I want McDonald's, but I'm not willing to go. Like that's a dumb example.
You're not getting McDonald's. Like,
everything in life works like that. Everything in life works just like that. Like, oh, dude, I thought you said you want McDonald's. Yeah, I didn't want to go. Okay, cool. You didn't want McDonald's bad enough. I know it's a dumb analogy, but like that's literally it's a little easier to digest that way. But that like works with everything. Like I want a master's degree right now. I'm going to school for a master's degree. I'm struggling. And not struggling. One class I'm not doing great in. But like, okay, cool. I can just not do good in it, or I can like I have
figure it out.
Yeah, I have a very busy schedule, but I've just been moving things around, doing and that's not to say like I'm not very good at this, so listen to this advice. Don't try to emulate me. Like I'm still working on it. I'm a much.
Folks, we're all works in progress. I feel like that's just
much.
I admit that every podcast. I'm not the best person to listen to, but like if you could get something to work for you, maybe hope more power to you. But
that's my general.
I'm still a sinner, so
yeah. I won't drag on with it too much, but yeah, that's been general advice. Is that like, I don't know if it like you hear people say that all your life, and then at one point for me it just clicked. I was like, oh yeah, if I want something, I just have to get it. Like that's
Sadie and I were talking about that a couple. I think it was last episode. Or at the tail end of it, we were like, all that stuff that you hear is kind of cliche when you're growing up, and you're like, oh well, like fuck, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But until you're actually in it, like it's real, folks. It sounds close. It sounds so fucking like simple and cliche because it is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, sorry. And then, at least for me though, like, I think I was, how could I put this without sounding like a complete narcissistic fucking asshole? But, my problem was I always relied on, and I could even look back at how I just behaved in class sort of sense, where like, I kind of just relied on natural talent versus hard work.
Yeah.
Because me not trying, I could do pretty well. Like I definitely high C's, low B's for not trying. But like if I really wanted to go the extra effort, like to get something, like you got to do it. So like, there's that. I think it was a quote that just came across. Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of these motivational things that come across my fucking feed these days. I think it's the algorithm trying to warp my brain. But it's one of those things where it's like, I think it was Doc Ock talking to Peter Parker in like the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, where it's like, yeah, no, my professor friend, he says that you're brilliant, but he's like, but you're also lazy. So it's like, it's not, that's not how it fucking works, kid. Like, if you want to be brilliant, like, you got, like, it's one thing to be brilliant, but the lazy thing, that's what's going to hold you back. Whereas,
You want to hear?
you could have all that natural talent, you could have all that, you could have that. Oh, I'm actually decent at jujitsu, but like, if you want to actually like be good at it, yeah, you could be the best white belt that there is. You know what I mean? But especially in when it comes to an actual like real, like, or like in a video game or any sort of like this is a video game podcast, so if I could steer the boat back around to that, where like I always talk to, like, yeah, I was naturally good, I guess, so that little bit of Asian in me. I was definitely good at the hand-eye coordination to be able to
little bit of Asian in you. You were born in Asia.
Oh yeah, I guess the little bit I lit loose, I guess I should say. But yeah, no, it's, I mean, maybe that was the thing that played into it. Who the fuck knows? But like, I was always pretty good at, like, I kept a pretty consistent 3 KD, for in a lot of games where I was just kind of just doing my thing. But if I really, there was no game that I actually like, or a game that I really, really, really liked, that I really poured in all, like, I was phenomenal at it. So it's like, that's, and like you said, like the hard work, the dedication, the drive, like that shit shows. It does show, like, it really does. It's not bullshit. You may, if you can think about it in a video game sense, apply that video game shit to real life, which is what I think. This is what this whole podcast is about. Like, if you learn it in a game, apply it out there, see if it's the same thing. But I mean, not like, don't try to fucking light your sword on fire and go after a dragon, because that doesn't fucking work. But like, or that doesn't exist. But I mean, like, if you learn, like, oh, okay, like maybe this isn't the right way to go about solving this mission. Maybe, okay, door kickers. I wasn't in the right mindset, like, oh, so instead of saying, well, fuck this game, I'm not good at it, well, no, learn from it.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I do have to get going, but one thing I just want to, and we've also been going for almost 2 hours, and that's the point.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll end it. We're gonna pretty soon.
But that you said something that just reminded me. Maybe we could end on this. I have a good friend who he's a very successful accountant. I think he's the CFO of a company right now. He does very well for himself. He played on the Toronto Blue Jays, and I'll say he was a member of the Blue Jays organization. I don't know if he ever played for the Blue Jays. Maybe just been in the farm team or whatever. But he's a great guy, and he said he had a coach one time that, like, because he was kind of that too, like, just had a lot of natural talent in baseball, just God-given talent in baseball. And he said he had a coach come up to him one time and said his name is actually Corey.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and he was like, the coach came up to him and was like, "You know what your problem is, Corey?" And he's like, "What?" He goes, "You got D1 talent with a D7 work ethic."
Oh, there it is. There it is.
So that's I think that might be a good way to wrap it up with the philosophy section.
Yeah, no, for sure, guys. Like, follow. When you got something that you want to do, make sure you actually fucking do it. Don't just rely on, like you said, like, nothing's gonna be given to you. You're actually gonna be given a black belt. You're actually gonna be given, a spot on a competitive night team, or you're not gonna be given a spot to fucking roll for a charity. You know what I mean? Like, just work for it, work hard, and I feel like that's. I mean, as much as we keep harping on it, but just do it. You know what I mean? Just do it and love it and be passionate about it. And don't just think it's gonna fall out of the sky. Like, go get that McDonald's if you want to get it. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a good way to end there.
Yep.
So thank you, Goosey. I'm gonna make sure, definitely send me all the shit so I could link it to our folks out there.
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Folks, if you wanna do all that stuff where you email us, subscribe us, all the other shit like that, you know what to do. I ain't gonna harp on it anymore. Yep. You're all are adults, so
you should harp on it. I'll harp on it for you. Like and subscribe to Gamers vs. the System on Spotify, on Instagram, wherever you consume podcasts. Like, subscribe, leave a review. That helps the algorithm a lot. Even if you hate it, just leave a review. They'd say, like, this is the worst podcast of all time. This guy droned on about jiu-jitsu forever and then gave me some cheesy Instagram advice.
But we need that. We need that input. So,
yeah. And while you're at it, follow at People Doing Martial Arts on Instagram. It's a martial arts photography page that I run. and you can learn about how to donate to We Defy organization in support of this match I have coming up. If you are interested in it, thank you for listening. I'll let you take it out.
I couldn't have said it better, folks. We love you, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.